Coming up, the best cheap phone you can buy, cleaning your filthy, 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 filthy mobile, and the last place on earth you'd expect to find a Bluetooth speaker. You gotta watch before you buy.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Before You Buy is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
Before You Buy is brought to you by SmartThings. SmartThings lets you monitor, control, and secure your home from wherever you are using your smartphone. Right now, SmartThings is offering Before You Buy listeners 10% off any featured SmartThings kit. And you get free shipping in the United States when you go to smartthings.com/beforeyoubuy. That's smartthings.com/beforeyoubuy and use the offer code BEFOREYOUBUY at checkout. Welcome to Before You Buy. It's Twit's product review show where we take the latest and greatest gadgets and gizmos that we get here into the Twit Brick House in Petaluma, and we give it to members of the Twit staff, the Twit family, to see what they have to tell you about their most honest reviews. And of course, we're going to start off our show, as we most often do, with Myriam Joire. Myriam is our phone expert. Thank you very much for coming back.
Hey.
You had to brave some serious traffic.
Yeah, so like, you know, those of you watching live know what's going on, but those of you watching recorded should pay attention to the clock.
The clock, yes.
Pay attention to the clock.
Don't tell them that. That's too much. You've already said too much.
I know.
Now, speaking of saying too much,
disappear.
You've got this. This is a little bit of hotness that has been getting teased. This is the Moto G.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of excitement around this phone, and rightfully so. The third generation Moto G follows in the footsteps of some the most successful Moto phone since the Razr, pretty much, in terms of sales. So, the second gen was great. The first gen was good. Is the Moto G third gen the greatest for its price?
That's a good question. Now, so, what is the price of this, by the way?
So there are two models, and let's start with the expensive one, because that's the one you want to buy. There is a model for $219 with 2 gigs of RAM and 16 gigs of built-in storage.
Not bad at all. Wow.
And there's a model for $179 with 1 gig of RAM and 8 gigabytes of storage. You really want to go, it's the RAM you want, because there's micro SD, so the expansion is easy. You can add a 32 gig card to that phone. But I would, you know, $40, pony those extra $40, because you'll really benefit.
You're going to add to the lifetime of the phone by adding that extra memory, not necessarily by storage.
It's going to
space.
make your multitasking experience so much better in terms of you know, performance. That's really what it's.
I got to ask though, $200 or sub $200, that's the realm of the bargain kind of no-brand craptacular phone. I don't expect to find a Moto G down there.
Well, traditionally the Moto G has always been around the $200 mark. There's also a Moto E that's actually half decent. That's more like the $150 mark. And frankly, I think it's hard. You'd be hard pressed to find a phone this good for the price. There are others. I think we will talk about that at the end. But let's go quickly through what this phone is about. What are you getting? And you know, I want to make it clear that this is not about the money. First, we shouldn't even have started with the money, because this phone in itself, without even knowing how much it is a phone that most of us, tech-savvy, early adopter nerds, would carry as a daily driver.
Oh, wow, okay.
So this is what I want you to take away from this. The price is just icing on the cake. You're getting a great phone.
This is not a burner phone. This could be a primary. All right.
Absolutely.
Spec me out on this primary phone.
So let's get started with the display. It's 720p, 5 inches. Nothing's changed since last year. The quality of the display has improved a little bit. But frankly, I think that it's still, this is one of the areas where they've cut corners.
IPS? Probably not.
It is potentially IPS, has good viewing angles, but it's just the brightness and contrast that leave a lot to be desired. Right now I've got them at half brightness, which works great here in the studio, but as soon as you're outside or even like in a bright indoor light, you'll find yourself cranking the brightness, even though you have it on auto, and you'll feel like it's just not cutting it. Contrast also, the colors are a little muted. You know, I mean, look, if you don't put it side by side next to another phone, it will look great. It'll be good enough to watch videos and do all your emailing and all your productivity work. But just be aware that it's not, you know, that's one of the areas where they cut corners.
Right. I mean, you can't expect the screen from a $700 phone to be under $200.
The other thing is it's still using a Snapdragon 410 series, which is the third time now, all three Moto Gs have the same processor. It's a really good one. Quad core, You know, it's fast. The only times when it kind of becomes a bit laggy and slower and maybe not quite as good as flagships is when you're playing games.
Okay.
But really, for anything you throw at it, like playing back 1080p video on YouTube, all that, no problem at all. So, you know, keep that in mind. I'm a little disappointed and surprised I didn't go for a Snapdragon 615, which is kind of starting to become the mid-range processor now, whereas the 410 it's almost 3 years old.
Right.
And it's amazing that it still holds a candle to, you know, it does really well still, especially with a pretty stock implementation.
Well, I think that speaks to the maturation of the market, which is even processors from 3 years ago. We're not doing a whole lot more now than we did back then,
right.
So they're going to be able to keep
And
up.
it's very battery efficient, and it's combined with a very large battery. I can't remember the exact specs on that. Somebody can spec check me on the IRC right here. But the bottom line is battery life is not going to be a problem on this phone. I could easily go all day,
okay.
even a day and a half, no problem at all. And it's not a removable battery, so just be aware of that. And so let's see, we've talked about the screen, the RAM and storage.
You got to give me the bands. I mean, where's it going to work?
So that's another thing that's interesting. Traditionally, the Moto G in the US has been a 3G phone. And this is and it's been available as an LTE version, but this is LTE for all versions all over the world. So you're getting LTE. Now, you're not getting like the latest Cat 9 like we've seen with the Note 5 or anything like that, but you know, it'll work on T-Mobile and AT&T on LTE, no problem at all in the US. And another caveat, just wanted to point out, it does not have Wi-Fi AC, right? So again, like, you know, these are little details, but if you're transferring large files on your home network from, say, a Mac to the phone, you're going to notice if you have an AC router, it's just going to connect to N, and it might not be quite as optimal.
It does dual bands, so 2.4 and 5.8.
No, it does 2.4 only. That's, I think, why it doesn't have AC.
Okay.
And that's actually very typical of these mid-range phones, right? So these are the things you have to look at. Other thing that is another corner that's been cut, no NFC. Now, we complained about that on the OnePlus 2 because it's trying to be a flagship killer, and, you know, it's trying to say that there's no compromises, you know, but this, it's fine. No NFC is not going to be the end of it.
Probably no fast charging, no wireless charging. Those are high-end.
I don't know if it does have fast charging. Again, you can fact check me, but I found that it charges actually pretty fast when I do use a fast charger.
Okay.
Whether it's actually technically using the fast charge technology, I don't know. But I didn't felt that charging was an issue with this phone. And so it uses a micro SIM and a micro SD card slot under a removable cover. Now, this is the black model, black on black. And, you know, frankly, it's a little boring in this look, but it comes, the other thing you have to understand is Moto Maker is available for this phone for the first time. Moto Maker is Motorola's customization website that traditionally lets you customize the Moto X. You can now customize this back camera pod, and the color, the front can be white or black. And then these covers, of course, you can buy after the fact. They come in a variety of colors. You can see there's a little indent. Oh, there you go. There's a little indent nearby the micro USB down here to remove the back cover. And you'll find a micro SD and a micro SIM slot up there. Now let's talk about the back. One of the big changes this year is the camera. In the past, the first gen had a 5-megapixel camera that was just serviceable. The 8-megapixel on the second gen was actually quite okay. But this is actually the Nexus 6 camera with OIS removed that they've put on here.
Oh.
So it has an f/2 lens, which is a pretty fast lens, so it does pretty decent in low light. And I don't know if you saw, but I was on the new screensavers with Leo, and I showed some of the pictures I took with this phone, and it did very well.
That's not bad.
So here are some, this is nice a low light, this is, you know, some of the shots I did on my trip to, you can look here, you know, you're getting, in good light, you're getting some pretty good amount of detail. Again, you can see the brightness issues here. If I crank the brightness up a little more, I think we'll be happier campers. So let's check this out again here with slightly better brightness. You can see 13 megapixels.
It's responsive too.
Yeah,
I don't see any lag.
Let's see. Here's a panorama. It does very good panoramas. Here's HDR. The HDR is a little over the top on this phone. And again, this is a tuning of the software, but I think it's a little too much, to be frank. I was in Wyoming and Montana on a road trip. I took this phone. Look at this picture. That's a really good HDR shot. You can see it in the clouds here. Really well done. So it's okay. It's not gonna, I would say this camera matches what we had in flagships a year ago, which is amazing for that price.
For a budget camera,
but
that's not great. I mean, that's not bad.
We've gone so much further now with the iPhone 6 and then the GS6 and the G4 that we expect a lot more. But honestly, this you know, holds its own. You know, as you can see here, these pictures are quite beautiful, and even low light shots. Look at this HDR low light shot here.
That's
you know, it's very beautiful, and you can see in the detail of the neon and stuff. We haven't really lost much. It does get a little vague in terms of detail when you zoom in on things. I got some pictures of Leo here. Let me bring them up. This is me kayaking. So another thing, I want to bring it up since I'm here with the life jacket. This phone is IP57. It is water resistant.
Nice.
You can, I think you can dunk it for like 30 minutes in like a few feet.
So it's an action camera, kind of.
Yeah, so I had it on the kayak here, not worrying that if I dropped it, since we were close to shore, I could go dive and get it. And let's see what else we've got here. I got some shots of Leo here. So this is a shot I took here in the studio, a macro shot to kind of see the level of detail. And as you can see, a nice bokeh back here, pretty good detail. And here's Leo. This is a 3x zoom shot, action. As you can see, it's not bad at all for
actually
3x.
pretty darn good.
And you know the lighting in the studio, so you're familiar with that. Here is what it looks like sitting at the Morrone desk here. And so basically, the camera is a big improvement. It is still not quite good enough, I think, to you know, to play with the big boys. Yeah. But for that price, I mean, wow.
So $200, decently spec'd, looks really good, takes decent pictures. You got to bookend this for me. Give me the pros and the cons.
Okay, sure. One last thing is the front camera is 5 megs, so it actually takes great selfies in case you're into that. Nice improvement as well. So the pros and the cons. The pros is the price. I mean, number one really is the price. You can't go wrong. Another pro is it's almost a stock implementation of Android. It's very lightweight. There's no skinning here. You got some of the new Moto features where when you lock the phone, it shows you these little icons as soon as you pick up the phone. And for some reason, it's not working, but it's the same thing as you've had on the Moto X.
Right.
So one of the side effects of that, they've removed the notification light because you no longer need it. The phone will pop up when you have notifications automatically. There you go. See? It's doing it there. If I had a notification, it would show it to me right there. Another thing that came out of that is, so the stock Android, the price, and I think it's well-rounded. Nothing is outstandingly amazing, but everything is way above average.
Good enough,
right?
Especially for the price.
So the drawbacks, as I said, no NFC, no removable battery. Let's see, what else did we have that I thought was a drawback? You know, don't buy the cheap one. It's a bit of a drawback because it's luring you in at $179.
You seem to be searching for cons here. It's
hard.
It's hard to find a con.
I mean, really, you know, what are you going to say? No wireless charging? Who cares?
So
no fast charging?
I don't really have to ask you this, but I got to ask you this.
This is a buy.
It's
absolutely a buy. But my recommendation is you buy the $219 version. You know, save up just a few more pennies, and it's just worth it. I could see this being my daily driver. I mean, it's that good. Now, I just do want to mention a couple of things. One, there is a phone out there that costs $10 more, almost $10 or $20 more, the Huawei P8 Lite that I reviewed,
right.
that actually does trump this, has a slightly better display, also 5 inches, 720p, a slightly better camera, and more importantly, it has a Snapdragon 615.
So
it was also 2 gigs. So
if you're going to pay $40 to get over
the drawback of the
version.
P8 Lite is that you're getting an older version of Android. You're getting 4.4 versus 5.1.1, and you're getting a skinned version of Android. So the question you have to ask yourself is, can you live with skinned Android and slightly better specs on a Huawei, or do you want a Moto phone with a stock version of Android and a slightly lesser processor? That's really the question you should ask yourself.
It's a buy for the Motorola G, the Moto G from Myriam Joire. Of course, you can find Myriam Joire here often on the TWiT TV network, all about Android. You're a frequent guest.
Indeed.
And of course, on Before You Buy. But where else can they go to find the work that you're doing?
So, you know, I'm obviously here, and then my own blog, Tankgirl, is my handle on Twitter, TNKGRL. Just think of the comic book, drop the vowels, and you find me on Twitter. That's also the URL for my blog, tankgirl.com, and my consulting business is out of there, too. My blog is mostly just, you know, reviews of other phones that are not being covered here by the show, and, you know, whatever comes through my head. I do a podcast as well on a regular basis. If you don't have enough of me here with Robert, and if you don't have enough of me on All About Android, then go find me on my podcast.
Myriam, always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for sharing your insight with the Moto G. This might be your next phone. It's a real phone for the price of a burner. Go figure. Now, coming up next, we're taking a look at hardware, a first look at Synology's 1515 Plus. But before that, let's go ahead and take a moment to thank the first sponsor of this episode of Before You Buy, and it's got to be SmartThings. SmartThings has made it easier than ever to turn your home into a smart home. Now, do you remember how it used to be? You had to go to different vendors to find the devices that you wanted, the locks, the lights, the sensors. Well, SmartThings does away with all that. It takes all those proprietary protocols and it brings them together with this. This is the Smart Hub, the center of your smart home. This allows you to speak to, oh, I don't know, thermostats from Nest and cameras from Dropcam and maybe a stereo system from Sonos. It allows you to speak all the different languages of the devices from the different manufacturers that you may want to use in your smart home, which means one thing. You get to build your smart home the way you want to build it. Now, SmartThings is so revolutionary, it won the CES 2015 Editor's Choice Award. Now, if I were building a smart home, what I would do, of course, I would start with this hub, but I'd want to add the sensor. So this sensor I carry on my person, which tells my home that I'm home. And then maybe it will set my lights so that it's the right color. Maybe it'll set my stereo system so it plays the station I like. Maybe it will even change the temperature so that I can save power when I'm not in the home. Of course, I've got power outlets, I've got moisture sensors, I've got moisture sensors, I've got smart motion sensors, window sensors, I've got multi-sensors. In other words, I can build my smart home any way I want to build it. And really, folks, that's what makes your home a smart home. Now, right now, SmartThings is offering our Before You Buy audience 10% off any featured SmartThings kit when you go to smartthings.com/beforeyoubuy. That's smartthings.com/beforeyoubuy and use the offer code BEFOREYOUBUY. It's the perfect way to get started with a smart home. For 10% off and for free domestic shipping, go to smartthings.com/beforeyoubuy and use the offer code BEFOREYOUBUY. That's smartthings.com/beforeyoubuy. And we thank SmartThings for their support of Before You Buy. Now, folks, let's get back to it. We've got a first look for you. If you've watched any of my shows, you know that I'm a big fan of Synology NASs. They just work better than everything else out in the market. Yes, there are other NASs that are as fast. Yes, there are other NASs that are as economical. Yes, there are other NASs that have decent operating systems with a lot of features. But to find a company that combines all those things, well, that's a rare find indeed. Synology sent me this. This is their DS1515 Plus. It's an upgraded version of the DS1513 that we reviewed not too long ago. And the idea with the NAS is that it takes a lot of hard drives and it puts it into one place. This is going to be one of these. Oh, okay. Sorry about the Synology. I'm going to have to break your box. This is what it looks like when it comes out. It's a 5-bay unit, which means it's going to be able to hold 5 hard drives. If you've ever set up a NAS, you know that that doesn't mean that you have 5 hard drives worth of storage, because some of that is going to be used up by parity and redundancy. In fact, when I have a 5-drive array like this, I prefer to keep either 1 or 2 drives as sort of parity/redundancy. It means that I'm never really going to have to worry about my array crapping out on me. Now, one of the nice things about all of the Synology NASs is the way that they've built their DSM, the Disk Station Manager, the operating system that runs Synology. It makes this box into a NAS. What it will allow you to do is it will allow you to get one of their 2-bay units, upgrade to a 5-bay unit, maybe even go beyond that, maybe get one of the 15-bay units and have all the functionality that you had in the smaller units, but with additional drives. Now, these are all hot swappable, which means that if I ever have a drive that goes out, I use a little key to turn the security lock, and I pop out the drive, and I can replace it without ever having to power down the unit. That's incredibly important if you're going to be using this as sort of a small office or home office storage. One of the other things I really like about the Synology products is what they build into the back here. So this has an eSATA port, in fact, 2 of them, so I can connect 2 ultra-high-speed drives. In fact, it's basically SATA, so I can expand the capability of my units. In fact, I can daisy chain these units if I want to expand my, my storage even more. One of the other features I really like is these 4 gigabit Ethernet ports. I can actually bond them together if I want to be able to achieve more throughput, or, and I think a lot of you are going to be excited by this, I can use different apps that I can install onto the device in order to turn this into a multi-purpose device in my network. Do I want it to be a router? I can do that. Do I want it to be a media server? I can do that. Do I want it to be my VPN server? I can do that, all with a simple download of an app. Now, one of the other cool things about the Synology NAS stations that I really, really like is an application called Surveillance Station. Surveillance Station will take input from any IP cameras and turn this into a network video recorder. So if you are one of these people who wants to install an inexpensive network video recording system, a Synology is a great way to do it on a budget. In fact, it's what we use here at TWiT. They also have these 4 USB ports, USB 3.0. So if you've got backup hard drives, you can plug it in here to either expand the capability of storage that can be accessed over the network, or you can use it to back up the storage from the NAS itself. I can't tell you enough how much these NAS boxes have impressed me. This 1515 is truly a nice box, and it's something that I'm looking forward to testing over the next couple of months. A first look wouldn't be a first look without considering all the different ways we want to test this. And I think in my process for testing the 1515, of course, I'm going to be copying information to and from. Of course, I'm going to be testing out the durability. So I'm going to be doing things like pulling drives when I shouldn't pull drives. Of course, I'm going to power it down in the middle of a cycle to see if I can get it to lose data, because those are the nightmare security issues for any owner of a NAS. But more than that, I want to test the next generation of applications that are going to be run by NAS users. Specifically, something that Synology offers is that this runs Docker. Now, I know that's not going to mean a lot to you folks out there, but if you've ever wanted to containerize your applications, it now means that you're going to have something in your data closet that you can do it with. So rather than having to run a high-end data center, you may just be able to run your NAS. So this is the Synology 1515 Plus. Look for it. It's about $769. It's under $800, and it just may be the NAS for you. Now, I do want to give you something else in just a little bit. I want to show off a new solution I found for disinfecting your phone. But before we do that, hey, Cranky Hippo, I don't know if you're online, but you had a chance to take a look at some sort of speaker fan. What was that all about?
Yeah, I got to play around with a Bluetooth speaker fan. So why don't we take a look at that? This is Bryan Burnett from Before You Buy, and this is the Braun Sensonic SPK110 speaker fan. In the world of Bluetooth speakers that are also light bulbs or futons or what have you, now there's a Bluetooth speaker that doubles as a bathroom fan. Installation is slightly more difficult than a normal Bluetooth speaker. First, mount the Bluetooth speaker inside the fan assembly and attach the cables. Remove your old bathroom fan, and now we're ready to hit the attic. Note to home builders, using blown insulation makes updating your electrical system a huge pain. I'm replacing a smaller fan, so I need to cut a bigger hole in my ceiling. The fan housing was pretty easy to mount to a nearby joist, but I needed to buy a special reducer to fit the duct connector to my existing duct work. I think this is the first time I've ever used duct tape on an actual duct. Once everything is done in the attic, how does the Sensonic work? The fan is a little louder than I expected, but it seems to work just fine. You can't turn on the Bluetooth speaker separately from the fan, which can be annoying at low volume. The dual speakers in the Sensonic do a pretty good job at drowning out the fan, though. Mids sound great, highs are a bit tinny, and the bass tends to distort at high volumes, but overall, these are pretty good speakers. The acoustics in my bathroom spread the sound over the whole house. So as far as pros and cons, the first one is the sound quality. It wasn't terrible. It was pretty good for a Bluetooth speaker in general, and it was loud enough to be heard over the fan. The next pro would be price at $150. It's not really expensive, and if you do need to replace your bathroom fan, it's not going to be that much more expensive than a regular one. And then the fan itself works as advertised. It does a good job of that. As far as cons, you can't operate the Bluetooth speaker without the fan also being on at the same time. So you're always going to have that fan noise with the speaker. And then I had to go into the basement, or not the basement, the attic, when it was over 120 degrees and install the thing for Before You Buy. So that was a lot of fun. Is it a buy, try, or don't buy? Unless you need to replace your ceiling fan in the bathroom and you want a Bluetooth speaker, then do it. Otherwise, it's not worth the time to do this specifically. You can always just get a waterproof, cheap Bluetooth speaker and keep it in the shower, and it'll do just the same thing. So that's my review.
Yeah, you know, Brian, it's interesting because I get what products are like this are trying to do. They're trying to take something you already have and add some functionality to it, which normally I'm okay with, but how many of us really need to hear music in the bathroom?
Probably the same amount of people who need to have a Bluetooth speaker in their coffee maker, or maybe your toaster, or, you know, any other appliance that you can fit a speaker into.
There you have it. If you are addicted to the Internet of Things and everything needs to be connected, then by all means, go ahead and buy this $145 musical bathroom fan. But if not, then Bryan Burnett says it's a definite don't buy. Folks, I want to go ahead and shift gears a little bit. We've talked a little bit about network storage. We've talked a little bit about a new phone that won't break the bank. Now let's go ahead and talk to Megan Morrone about something that maybe you're going to want because it's blinky.
It's blinking.
It's blinking.
Yes.
Megan, this is the Dotti and the Naughty.
Yes,
or the
Dotty and Naughty.
Okay, that thing.
D-O-T-T-I, Dotty, and O-T-T-I, Naughty.
What is this?
Well, they are designed to give you smart notifications, not on your phone or your watch. So I just got a text message, and it's lighting up.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Bye.
That's it. Okay. Well, I mean, there have been products like this in the past. I mean, the whole idea is to give you an at-a-glance view of something that might be happening. In fact, I remember back in like pre-2000, they had this device that was like a weather alert thing that you could set from your computer.
And it would alert you.
It would alert you if it started to rain because it was too hard to look out the window.
Yeah.
Is this much better than that old technology?
Well, you know, and they have the rings too. You've seen like the smart rings that you don't. The idea is like you wouldn't want to take your phone out of your pocket, or if you're at home and you're having a party and you don't want to constantly have your phone, but you want to know that you're getting a text message, then you know that would light up and you would know. But, I mean, maybe we should have a conversation about why you want these notifications at all.
Could you please explain to me why I would want this at all, in any way, shape, or form?
First you have to assume that you are a person that wants these kinds of notifications. And I do want them, but I already get them on my Apple Watch. Like the silent kind of notifications, they're tapping me. But if you were hard of hearing, I could assume why you might want this.
Or if you're quirky, and this definitely looks quirky. And if you know what, it's bright because it's under the studio lights, and I can still see the blink.
Right. So quirky and fun, but $50.
Ooh.
So
that's a. You have to really be quirky.
Yes. So it's not just for text messages. You can get your Facebook messages, your Twitter messages, your email messages, your phone. It does, and you can change it on the app. You can change whatever color you want.
Okay, so it's a $50 blinking LED connected via Bluetooth, I'm assuming.
Yes, it connects via Bluetooth.
Okay.
And yeah, and it has a battery, but you know you can charge it with a USB.
Does it stack with others? Does it become a transformer? Does it connect? No.
And it doesn't respond to your emails either, which is what I would like. So that's the Naughty. That's the $50. If you want to go up to $70, you can get the Dotty, which is right there. That yeah, let's see that, and that you can also.
That looks to be Dot Gobbler.
Right. Also, yes, Dot Gobbler, as you call him. You can. We know him by another name that apparently we're not supposed to say.
No, there are a lot of screens where you have to tell people this is a 320 by 240 or this is an UHD. This is literally a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's an 8 by 8 screen. So that's how many pixels. It's got 64 pixels.
Right. So I can change that. I can make my own. If I wanted to make the Twit logo, I could do that. So I'm doing all of that by an app, which was really fun for my 10-year-olds. But would I spend $70 to have a lot of fun like that? I'm not sure that I would.
This is $70?
It costs $70.
Yeah, thank you. There's Dot Gobbler. So, who are they marketing this for? I mean, I understand, okay, the eccentric person that's one thing. Is this really what you want the toy you want to buy your kids for $70?
No. I mean, I was talking to Carly. You know, she has her finger on the pulse of the young people today. She could imagine it in a dorm room situation.
Carly is our token young person.
Yeah, she's our young person reporter. Maybe, you know, maybe something like that. If you had $70 to burn and you wanted to entertain your friends in a party you might be having.
I guess. I mean, I was thinking this might be something that you might see people walking around at DEF CON with, but no, because it's actually Bluetooth connected, and no one in DEF CON would be silly enough to have a Bluetooth connected device in their environment.
Some of the reporters might like think that's something totally scary.
I turned it off.
Yeah, you swipe the top of it to turn it back on.
Oh, hey,
yeah.
okay. Well, okay. Hey, now
that's cool. You like
that's
that.
a feature. Okay.
Yeah.
How did I? Oh.
Yes.
All right.
And so
1 out of 2.
It had a lot of that. Like, it took me a while. Karsten did it on his Android phone, had no problem with my iPhone. It was a little bit difficult to get it to pair.
Okay, so this makes it look like a lot of fun, but
if you had a bunch
if
of
I
them,
have
yes.
a bunch of them. So, wait, are they aware of each other, or do you have to tell it that, oh, you've got another screen over here?
There is on the app, it does say one or a group. So yes, I guess you could party with other people's dotties.
That sounds not good. All right, so break it down for me, the pros and the cons.
The pros are it's fun if you have $70 burning a hole in your pocket. And like I said, if you're hard of hearing and you need to be notified of a notification, that would be fun. You know, if these are, if they look fun to you, then that's definitely a pro. The cons, like I said, the pro also, easy on an Android phone to pair. Maybe easy for someone else to pair. I'd put it under the 10-year-old test. Like, I like to give products to my 10-year-olds and see if they can set them up by themselves. This one failed that.
Oh, boy.
Also,
how about with the 10-year-old test, did this hold their attention for more than 5 minutes?
Yes.
It did. Okay, well, that's good. That's good.
Not more than 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Not good.
They were interested in creating the dot art. That was something that was fun. Also, the boxes make them look much cooler, like much bigger than they are. It's like false advertising.
I don't know if you can zoom in on this picture, but according to this picture, the Naughty is like 5 times bigger than an iPhone, and yeah, that's obviously not the case.
Yeah.
So, okay, all right.
Well, yeah, I mean, I definitely thank the company for sending us these to review. That was very kind. So they were fun to play with. But I don't know, $50 or $70, that doesn't seem like the right price point.
Okay, I got to ask you, is this a buy, a try, or don't buy?
I would say it's a don't buy.
Oh, there we have it from Megan Morrone. A don't buy for the $50 and the $70 Naughty and Dotty. Oh, well, is there something they could do to fix this? Could we have them back on a redemption? Is it just price, or is there some added functionality you'd like to see on another version?
Oh, that's a really good question. I would like it to respond to my emails and notifications.
Yeah, so actually make it something useful. Useful beyond just fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. There you have it.
Useful.
The gauntlet has been thrown, but for now, Megan says don't buy. You can find Megan Morrone here every weekday on the TWiT TV network, of course, at 4:00 p.m. for Tech News Tonight. It's all the news that's fit to print at the end of the day. And of course, you do i5 for the iPhone and iOS today. So you're a busy person.
I am not as busy as you, but I'm working on it.
No, everyone's as busy as me. Trust me. I'm just really good at looking busy. Megan Morrone, thank you very much. And you know what? Maybe I'll need to play some dot gobblers just a little later on.
Okay.
I'll grab that. But let's get away from dot gobbler. Let's get away from fun little notification devices. I actually want to show you something that may or may not be incredibly useful. Now, everyone's got a phone. Everyone's got a disgusting phone, because if you think about it, where the places your phone goes and how many times you clean it, it's probably a bacteria-ridden cesspool. PhoneSoap sent us this. It's a UV cleaner. The idea is you can take your phone, and this one actually will fit everything from this is a 1+1 to an iPhone 6, and then it bathes it in UV light while it charges it. It has a little charging port. And the idea is that UV light should kill 99.999, repeating whatever % of all the bacteria and organisms that are living on your phone. Now, we could have just taken their word for it, but me and Bryan Burnett, because we do know how, we decided to put the scientific method to it and find out if the PhoneSoap indeed was cleaner. I'm going to take 2 of my plates here. These are going to be my control for the experiment.
Right, because you're going to do one before and one after.
Right, but I'm going to do 2 before and 2 after, just so I have a bit more margin of error here, or smaller margin of error. Now I'm going to inoculate this tray, this Petri dish. What I want is I want to have a predictable pattern of where that swab was, so that that's where I should see growth. If there's any growth, it's going to happen in that Z. You want to make sure that you properly dispose of the swabs, because these could be inoculated with ridiculous germs. So, put them in some sort of biohazard box. Okay, now, so this gives us our controls. We're going to use this to compare against what happens to the phone once it goes through this process. So I'm going to go ahead and put my phone in here. By the way, this also has a charger, so I can charge
while you kill bacteria.
Yeah, bacteria. So if I close this, I don't know if you can see it, but this little blue light, now, there we go. That blue light is now turned on. When the blue light turns off, it means the process is done. It's properly exposed to UV. Right.
Yeah.
The theory behind that is bacteria really don't like UV. This is why like water treatment plants now use UV, or combined with, say, like an ozone generator, because that will basically kill off every organism that's
instead of trying to use chemicals or something like that.
Right. So we've got our 3 controls. We're going to set those aside. The 2 remaining dishes here we're going to use as our samples. So these are going to end up being the samples after the UV bath. If we take a look at our little there we go. The blue light is off, which means it's run its cycle. The UV lights in here are no longer on, which means when I open this thing up, it's...
Yeah, there's going to be the fog coming out of it.
Okay, so before we do that, we're going to get our 2 sample trays ready.
Right.
And I've got a brand new set of swabs. I'm going to take my sterile swab. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and take a nice quick swab of the surface, which should now be germ-free, and it's awesome. All right, so we're gonna do the same thing. We've got our swab here. We're gonna inoculate the media like so with my Dragon Ball Z sign. Yeah. If they're right about the marketing, then when we finish the culture, in next week, we should see markedly less growth in these, or even no growth. I mean, if there's no growth, that's a huge success.
Right.
We needed to know if there was bacterial growth on our phone before and after.
Right.
Because that's going to tell us whether or not this thing actually does what it says it does, which is killing bacteria.
All right, let's find out.
So let's find out. Now, what we needed is the control, and then we needed the experimental sample. So let me show you the control first. This was actually surprising. So even beyond the hypothesis, that's not a lot. I mean, there is definitely bacterial growth on the phone. It took a long time for this to come out. This was like a 5-day incubation before we started to see these.
Yeah.
And we've got at least, I'm counting 4 different types of bacteria here. This kind of striggly one, those small colonies, these colonies that are a different color, and then this white waxy one. And so that was the before. I honestly, I thought phones were going to be a whole lot more disgusting. So there is something, but not nearly as much as I had thought.
Not too bad.
So, you want to see the actual experiment?
Yes.
Here are the experimental samples.
Whoa.
Believe it or not,
it works.
it works. These are totally clear. There's nothing growing here. I mean, I've got the scrapes. I can see the scrapes where
From the Q-tip.
where I dug in with the swab, but
That's
pretty conclusive. This thing.
It does what it's
supposed to do. Yeah, UV light does kill bacteria. Oh, Brian, I got to say, I was surprised. Were you surprised at all at the results?
I was surprised because I thought there was going to be more bacteria to begin with.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, I can assure people you didn't clean your phone prior to that experiment.
That came right out of my pocket.
But I think what we learned also is that phones aren't really a good environment for bacteria to grow on. Like, they already are kind of antimicrobial.
Yeah, Jason was telling me that there are a lot of phones, like the OnePlus One, that actually get treated with an antimicrobial screen. So they don't naturally, they're not like a cesspool of bacterial growth, which is big for me. I'm wondering maybe if I tried an older phone, like maybe even a flip phone, before we started putting things like Gorilla Glass, that have a lot of nooks and crannies for things to actually grow. If we might get more. But then the other surprise was this thing actually works. When I brought this home, when Carson gave this to me, I was sort of rolling my eyes going, really? You're gonna bathe it with some LEDs and it's gonna be disinfected.
And I was just like, so you're also gonna give your phone a tan? Is that what you're doing?
Exactly. But it works, and really it shouldn't have been a surprise because we know that UV can kill bacteria and we know that you can have UV LEDs. So yeah, if you want an easy way to disinfect your phone, this is not bad. Now, I should note, this is about $65. You can buy this online right now. It's called the PhoneSoap. It will fit phones up to about 6 inches. So everything like this. This is a OnePlus One. Now, on the Pro side, I have to say, this is one of the things that, again, I laughed at when I first saw it, but it turned out to be a really good feature. This charging port means that this is a natural place for you to put your phone. So at night, you're going to want to put it in here because that's where you're going to get your charge, which means it's going to run the cycle and you're going to end up with a disinfected phone. Sounds silly, But I think the biggest thing here is trying to train people to disinfect your phone. True, it's cheaper and probably a lot faster to use a bleach wipe, an antibacterial wipe, but most of us aren't going to do that day after day after day. Everyone charges their phone at night. So if this could train you to drop your phone into a cleaner in order to get the charge, you just may do that. On the con side, well, there's the point that maybe it's not all that necessary. There wasn't a lot of bacterial growth on this phone. Bryan, I think you're right. I think maybe we need to go to some other phones to see if we can find ones that aren't as antimicrobial, some that are germ-infested. But still, considering the pros and the cons, and considering the fact that this could retrain you to do something that might keep you safer, I'd say that this is $65 well spent. Try, buy, or don't buy. I'd give the PhoneSoap $65 worth a buy. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of Before You Buy. I want to thank all our reviewers, especially Myriam, Joire, Megan, and of course, Cranky Hippo. We wouldn't be able to do this show without them. Also, thanks to all the people here who make this show possible. Of course, that's Lisa and Leo and Carson, and of course, my super producer, Bryan Burnett. In fact, Cranky Hippo, can you tell the people where they can find you on the Twit TV network?
Well, like the cross promotion that we just did, we do Know How together on Thursdays, and if you're kind of curious how the rest of that bacteria segment went, you should check out a couple of episodes ago on Know How. It's a little surprising, the results that we got, especially from my own ear.
Yes, I should note that if you do check out the Know How episode where we tested the PhoneSoap, we also did swabs around the studio, including Leo's keyboard, the TriCaster, the inside of Bryan's ear. So if you want to see what kind of bacteria grows in the brick house, go ahead and check out our own personal zombie apocalypse.
The scary thing is, I don't know where that Petri dish went.
I think it walked away, actually.
I think it might have crawled out,
We may have grown a micro Bryan. Also, don't forget that we do this show every week live, Fridays at around 3 o'clock or so. It's really supposed to be 2:30, but who knows? Just find us on Friday afternoon. You're going to be able to watch Before You Buy live. That means you get to watch how the sausage is made. This is the finished version, but if you watch live, you get to see all the intros, the outros, and all the outtakes. It's a lot of fun, live.twit.tv. And as long as you're watching live, jump into our chat room at irc.twit.tv. Until next time, I'm Father Robert Ballecer. This has been Before You Buy. And remember, you've got to watch before you buy.